one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting to order, anybody? Oh, we are, right?
Yeah, you already did.
Public comments?
There is no public comment.
No public comment. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion to amend the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to amend the agenda in business section 9, approval of emergency provisional for, you want the name? Christy Orford.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of amending the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I need a motion to accept the amended agenda.
I move that we accept the amended agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda, approval of minutes, or do we just go through the whole consent agenda?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as posted. Section C.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Moving on to reports. Superintendent reports.
In the
Good
last,
to have you back.
Yeah, thank you.
it has been a fun week, and I guess I'm still impressed with your district office. Ladies, it's been fun. I appreciate the opportunity to work with them again. About the only thing that really the board needs to know is you have a roof project going on down at Gems on the like the band room entrance, the foyer entrance, and then the gymnasium. The other day, we got notified that when they started tearing the roof off of the gymnasium, the sub sheeting and the tar paper and everything, basically, Ty, you're in here.
Yeah.
But it's basically from the way the building was created, it doesn't have a wood structure underneath to attach. It's being attached into metal beams, I believe. Is that what it is?
Right.
Through foam?
It's a steel frame building. It has, it's called pan deck, which is the metal roofing underneath on the beams, and then it has OSB, then insulation, then another layer of OSB. And there's a lot of movement in a steel building, and so the building expands and contracts with heat and cold. And what they noticed was that every joint on the OSB, the tar paper was split and shingles were loose and things. So what the solution is, and I called the engineer, the structural engineer that designed the building, and he said it was fine. What the plan is to install another layer of OSB over the top of the one, staggering the seams so it ties it all together, and it should alleviate that being a problem. The concern was 10 years down the road, that particular portion of the roof may have issues again, and this should alleviate the problem.
So is it like a thicker OSB too? Like a
No,
It'd
it's
just be
just
another
another
layer.
layer of 7/16 OSB, but with staggered joints, it'll tie it all together, so it shouldn't
Yeah.
do that and split the tar paper and loosen shingles and stuff.
And with your contractor, I mean, I don't blame him. He's having a hard time, or would have a hard time putting his name to do it the old way. And knowing that, like Ty was saying, 5, 10, 15 years, whatever. And that building has notoriously had leaks. And this, now we're able to finally get an idea of possibly why.
Yeah.
So it would be my recommendation after talking with Ty, and then also, especially where we got the engineer to be able to sign off on that. And we do have a document with the engineer who's signed off on it, so we've got that backing us up. That we go ahead and do it right. The cost differential is another $15,000, which I was surprised, how many sheets? 600 sheets?
600
Something like
600
that.
sheets
Yeah,
of
it's a
plywood
bunch.
plus your
Time.
tar paper, time, and everything else. So the cost is a $1,500 increase, or $15,000 increase.
Pretty cheap, we're already getting that OSB.
And
It's
I would
$14 a
recommend
sheet
that
now.
you do it right
Better than it was.
as opposed to patching it.
Okay. Do we have to take action on that, or what?
Yep.
Do we do anything? Okay, sounds good.
That's about all that has come up.
Sounds good. We move on to subcommittee report.
Mr. Chairman, with respect to the curriculum and library subcommittee, or policy subcommittees have been informed, we're on hold for both until August. With respect to the curriculum, Mrs. Fales is due to return in August, and we need her participation. Secondly, on the library policy, finishing that, we need to hear from the State Board of Education and their interpretation of the law related to libraries and obscene materials. And so it doesn't behoove us to put pen to paper if it isn't in accord with how the State Board of Education views things. So we're waiting for that.
And financial report, anything to talk about tonight?
Wrapped up the year, so you have your normal board report in there, but now I'm just hard at it on the audit. Things are going really good. It's kind of nice to take a breather from the levy and the budget and focus on an audit. That's about it, though.
All right. Moving on to business. Building evaluations, do we have any comments on that?
Mr. Boucher?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm gonna give this packet to you, Carly, and that way you'll know how to distribute it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to review your schools and spend some time in your district. First of all, like to say I appreciate the time that Carly spent with me. We worked a lot on weekends and after hours, and Ty and I spent about, 8 to 10 hours, I think, pretty long day going through each of your schools. And so I have a document in front of you that you probably had a chance to see. If it's okay, Mr. Chairman, can I scoot my chair up here by you guys?
That would be great.
Share a part of the table with you, how's that?
That'll work. Make some room for you.
The new plan is to, in my mind, is to have a 10-year report, some of them call it 5-year report, to submit to the state to collect your state money. I think my plan meets all the criteria. Carly and I were reviewing that as well as Ty, and I think that will be something you can submit as part of your requirement to meet the state requirement for the new money that comes in. And then there's some things that I didn't cover, technology for one, because I wasn't sure. And I asked the state how that was to be judged, whether it was hardware, software, wiring, or what. I never did get a firm answer on that, so that'll be something that will need to be added to yours. And besides that, I think it spells out most of what you need. So I'm gonna walk you through, without spending a lot of time, the ingredients is here. You board members that have any questions, I'd be more than glad to respond. Just give me the high sign at the time we're doing them so that you don't forget, and I'll be glad to answer as we go through. The ingredients that's in this plan was established back in the 90s when the policy of the state board was put forth, and then the legislature passed it saying that every district would submit a 10-year plan every 10 years, upgrading it at 5. And so I was asked by the State Department to produce a model plan my plan that is in front of you is still being used. It is still on the law saying that that needs to be done, so I brought you an original that I gave to Carly, and I recommend that you go ahead and send it in to the Division of Building Safety. They probably won't review it, but at least your name will be on there that you submitted a plan along with 35 other districts that have also done so. And then the electronic version that I gave Carly as well has all the files on it. And I recommend that you guys try to, especially the superintendent, when you get a new one, and your business manager, look at those and try to keep them up, keep the files up current, because that's always a good thing to do. A little of my background is I spent 23 years as a school superintendent, retired in Middleton. I don't know if any of you have been to state track. That was the last school I did before I retired there, that high school. And then retired in 2016, and since then I've been working for the University of Idaho teaching principals that want to be superintendents and superintendents that want their doctorate. I'm going to retire in May from U of I after 9 years doing that, and just do more of this consulting work that I'm doing now as I feel the time's there. So I've done 35 studies similar to what you have in front of you, and the number of districts that I've worked with, I'm going to kind of compare as we go through, but your district, I give you credit. I think that Ty is up on top of your facilities. As I went through every school with him, I was impressed with, one, the upkeep, two, the proactive stance that he has on keeping things upgraded and well maintained. Your guy that you have hired, and he was gone the day Ty and I toured, but that is specialized in mechanical units. I recommend that you hold on to that guy. He saves you a lot of money and time, and his expertise is something that most districts, one, can't find people, and two, can't afford them either. So I think that guy is well worth the money and time, saving you guys from having to replace complete units that he has knowledge about repairing. In Middleton, I contracted with a firm that helped me do what he did, and probably paid 3 times the amount that you pay for that guy to have him on staff. So the first couple pages are nothing more than requirements from the old, I say old, the former code that is there, and the history is something you guys know a lot better than I do about it. So I use what I could find off your website to give me a little bit of information there. The next one is this sheet here is the accumulation of your buildings. Carly asked me to do 10 buildings. That's exactly what I did, and those are all listed here. She gave me a lot of good information, and Ty helped me confirm the year of construction, and the age of your facilities. So out of all your facilities, 524 years is, you have some age on some of those buildings there, and as you get age on them, you're going to have things that are needed to be upkept. Your square miles, 7,450, is one of the larger districts I've experienced. When Carly gave me that, I said, I think we're probably maybe 450, and she said, no, 7,450. I had 100 square miles in Middleton, and my district was considered large. I did in eastern Idaho, the Butte School District, I think, was like 2,000 something square miles, and that was huge too. But your district has to be, I would say, one of the larger district square miles in the state. The acreage of 81 acres there, and then your total square footage about 300,000, which is quite a bit of square footage there. The far column there that tells your total building replacement costs, I always caution the superintendent and business manager to review that real carefully with your insurance company. And Carly gave me the figures that you have. I'll give you a real quick short story on that. When I was hired in Middleton in '91, I looked through the amount of insurance on each of our schools, and I found that they were all way, way low. The high school that you probably remember burning up in '94, my third year there, was insured for $3 million. And we raised the value of them all. The business manager said, well, the pro and con is this, you pay more when you insure more. And I said, true, but it's like our own homes. If we insure them for a third of what we're gonna replace them for, we're hanging our necks out there. So I reinsured that high school for $10 million. When it burned up and the insurance company came to replace that, it came in at 10-1. So had I left it at 3, we would never had a high school passed, I can guarantee that. And 2 is running a bond for 1, and then the other one wouldn't work. So for a few days there, their inspector came, and I had a little bit of stress because he was saying, it's a little suspicious, Rich, that you insure for $3 million, you raise it to 10, and it burns up. I said, well, I can tell you the answer to that. You look at all the other schools and see that the same thing happened. He did that and said, case closed. I get off of that high horse that it was raised for accidental purposes or not. So I say, your far right column there, have Carly review that thoroughly with the insurance and see, because insurance companies don't insure for what it costs to replace it. They seem to think that maybe it can be done cheaper. Over on the left-hand side there, you can see that the construction people that I work with all the time have said that about $400 a square foot, and I told Ty that's what I was using, and I agreed that that was a good figure to use. Your gyms and shops is about $100 less. So everything over on that right side is based on 400 and 300, and probably the insurance companies are like 200 or 250. I did your neighboring school district, Cottonwood, and theirs was based about 250, and John raised them all up to about that 400 rate, and got them to where I think he could feel comfortable with them there. So your 115 million is something that I always recommend my board members say to their patrons. We're working very hard to keep the assets of the patrons you represent up, and their property well maintained, which I say it is in your school district. It's nothing that, unfortunately, when I go in some school districts and there's buckets all around if the water's coming through, or when I go to Salmon, they passed a bond, but their elementary that had been run, 12, 15 times and failed, and it was deplorable for those kids who were inside there. That scored the score of your buildings, we'll get into that, but what we would like to see is if a new building's being built, it would score 100. Anything less than 100 means there's some work to be done, and I'll go through that in a minute with you. But that elementary, unfortunately, in Salmon was scored about 25, so it tells you that 75% of the building was not good. And so I was glad they got that bond passed. The next one is your enrollment projections, and I hope that this will be helpful for Carly as she does budgeting. The fourth superintendent that replaced me in Middleton, the guy that's there now, hopefully will stay a while because the other 3 didn't last long, but he still uses my enrollment projections for doing their budgeting purposes, and he says it's right on target. So the first one I did was basically Carly gave me the top of all your history of your enrollment, and then you can see the kind of the light gray line along there. I used that, and it's projected to use cohort survival, and what that means is you can see the 66 is kindergarten on down. If there was a complete drop off between 1 year, I would use that same formula below, but there isn't. It's pretty consistent. In 1 year there, 15, 16, it did drop a little, but it's pretty consistently staying the same. So I use the formula below so that it would match your history. That one is based on 0%. So that says that if no new students came into your school district, we transferred everybody that's here, that's in 23, 24, what would happen? And then you can see that there are some larger classes that are leaving and smaller ones coming in. So you can see down on the bottom, I've used red to show that your 810 that you finished this year, at the time Carly gave me that, dropped a little, 6 kids, and then all the way along there, it has larger classes graduating and smaller classes coming in of your kindergartners. So that is an effect. Your next page is 2%. And on your disc that I gave USB, that I gave Carly, she can easily forecast something different. If she decided and you guys decided that maybe you're going to have a 3% increase, then that could happen. Question?
Yeah, our enrollment I thought was like 1,200, not 800.
Yeah, it's like 1140.
Okay, so maybe something happened there that I used that figure. I don't know what happened there, Carly. Maybe one of the, is it 233, 320, and 257, one of those lower than what? To give you the extra 3?
I'd have to. I'm almost thinking that you just took Grangeville numbers.
Okay.
I think you're missing Elk City and CV.
Okay. We'll adjust that for you. So whatever you see, the 810 does show a representative sample below a proportion. So if we had 11, it would show about that same drop period there. But we can easily adjust that, Carly. I apologize for that figure. And she can put that back in her USB and see where that is and then rerun it. If you did 2%, and we had that 1,100 figure, it's probably going to be about the same proportion there, because I've used 8 below and 8 above. That shows your, jump is going to be about 100 kids. So if you're at 11, you'd be about 1,200 10 years out. And then if you look at the 5% increase, you're going to jump up proportionally from where you are now about 400 more. So if your 1,100 is current, you're going to jump to about 15. And that gives you a opportunity to kind of see what you have for classes.
Oh, it's a bit. You guys can't read?
Come on, guys. Here, I need to do this then.
Thank you for bringing that up, and again, I apologize for something dropping out of there, but we'll adjust that, and I'll work with Carly, give you new figures. She can give you the new amounts once I get back home. The last piece of the enrollment projections is used to do this page. So these proportionally are based upon that 802, and they represent your percent. So if you look at your percent of caps there, again, it would distort us to say we'd have 1,100, but we based it on your capacities versus your enrollments. So each of your enrollments show how many kids that you have attending, and we show 1,100 on that one, Carly, so we're correct there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the other ones. Your 1126 shows that you have a capacity of 1,900. This is always a good thing for boards to know that in the 5% increase that you show, well, I show incorrectly, but the 5% increase. If you had 5% of kids coming in more, would your schools be able to handle it? So each of those totals below there, percents that is, shows you how much room you have. In the Middleton area, when I was there, we were gaining 250 kids a year. So that was about 10 classrooms. And so I had to watch this thing very carefully as it jumped up. And you can see that with your exception of your Grangeville primary there, the rest of them you got pretty good room. Elk City, of course, with your 13, you got all kinds of room there, but the rest of them is about half full. And probably no news to you guys, but it shows you that you're in good shape. Districts that I go into, such as Middleton, unfortunately, Middleton's had 5 bonds fail since I left, and they have about 900 kids that are over capacity out in portables. The soup that's there now bought 4 portables this last year. And it's unfortunate because darn things are about $1 million a portable now, and they're way in the negative with space. But your case, you have good space there, and so I would say, looking down the road, you guys as board members can say, I feel pretty comfortable that we don't have to be adding more buildings. You could look at doing some combining, but then I know there's a lot of politics with that too. But you're in good state there with only 58% of your facilities at this point being used. And then down on the bottom you can see your Carter gave me about 22 kids per room. Well, in Middleton I had to jump up from 22. In the high school, for instance, we had that built with 10 extra classrooms, and they filled all 10 of those extra classrooms since I left. But we could, in your case, you could bump 22 to 25 and give you a little more capacity. You don't need that, but you could do that. That's another thing that would easily work to give you a little additional capacity that doesn't show there.
With you doing 30-something of these, what's the average real class size? Do you know?
There isn't any requirement now. The code allowed school district to determine that, and so it's based upon safety factor, and so the Uniform Building Code based it on the amount of square footage in a classroom that can exit out. And so the reason they say 30 is an average classroom is 900 square feet. So 30 kids give you 30 square foot of movement to get in and out of that. But school district could put, West Ada, for instance, I know has 40 some in some of their classrooms, and it's really tight. But no, that 30 is based upon good practice. I used a formula in Middleton that we kept 20 in our elementary classrooms, and then by the time they got to high school, we tried to keep them at 25 to 26. So that gives you a pretty good estimate. Your next sheet is the actual grading sheet, and I went through this and I would make the judgment, and then I'd ask Ty what his feedback was. Ty was very informed, gave me some good feedback. I gave it to Carly and Ty to say, okay, is there any changes you'd want made? There are some things that they would like to add to what I did that are things that will be more proactive, but I didn't change any of my scoring from the time I did it to what you're seeing now. But that form is a weighted form, so if you can kind of see that quickly, foundations, for instance, shows 12. You see where it shows 12 under good? The higher the score, the more costly it is to adjust it. So a foundation that's good is carrying a 12 weighting. A trim, which is minor for expense, only carries a 2. So the new bill that was passed that you guys are going to be subject to says that they want to know in every school district what it would take to bring your schools to good, which is exactly what I did for you guys. Actually, they had a perfect in there, and I told them, I said, I don't think perfect should be in there for one. The only perfect school is a brand new one that hasn't been opened yet. knowing that, the time it opens, something's gonna be wrong. But they did do away with perfect, so they have it on the 4-point scale like I did for you guys. But the higher the score, the less likely you have to add costs to bring it to good. A score of 100 means that there is no deducts, there's nothing in the fair, poor, or unsatisfactory ratings anywhere along. So if you score, as I told you, look at the next sheet, that's the coding. Where the school in Salmon scored 23, over on the far side, that means the majority of that school is unsatisfactory. And if you look down under there from 0 to 30, it says on the very bottom, it probably shouldn't be occupied, which it was. Your scores always, and we'll look at that in a minute, are all up into the good and fairs. So that means that one, they've been well maintained, and two, is they put money, Ty has had money to put in there to do the things that need to be done that pushes the score higher to good, toward good. You can see that each one of those schools for the next 10 pages were judged independently and scored independently, so that they were based upon a factor of off of good. So the very first one you're looking at, Grangeville Primary, for your sake, I put a column in there that said comments. And anything that did not rate good, I wanted you to know, and I wanted to, bounce it off Ty if my rating was sufficient to score, a little bit down. So everything you can see there, heating and cooling units, for instance, there's some older units there. Are they ineffective? No. Are they not working? Probably not. But they are older, so I do that for the sake of you guys as a board and Carly, saying if you have older units, we back it off a little bit there, saying that that's something that will be able to be put in a budget to say for Ty, down the road we need to put money into, one, having your guy do some renovation, or two, maybe the units need replaced completely because they're just too old. So 89 was a, 1 point off of being good. A 90 is a good 89, so it's right on the tip there. Under handicapped accessibility, you guys probably will look at that and say, well, no. The code reads that if you judge a building, a school building, on ADA accessibility, it has to meet all the requirements to be fully ADA accessible, which means electric door openers, stalls, signage, braille on the restrooms. None of your schools met every one of those categories, and so it's not figured into the costs, and that's something you guys as board members can say, well, if we're doing some renovation, we may want to do this or that, or you may have some kid in a wheelchair that needs electric door openers that you could add. I added every one of those things into Middleton High because we had enough money to do it when that bond passed. But on the same token, there's no deduct for costs here if you don't meet. The next sheet just gives you an idea. So that building scored 89. That means that if you look at this cost sheet here, 11% of the building, which is 100 minus your 89, says 11% of that building needs to be brought back up to good to make that, an entirely good building. But some of the things as you go through these are things that, I recommend you as board members probably don't do. Fire sprinkling, for instance, if it doesn't have fire sprinkling in it now, Ty and I talked about that in some of the schools, I wouldn't recommend you do it. When Middleton High School burned up, 3/4 of the building was not fire sprinkled, 1/4 was, that was attached. The insurance people said at the time, we wish that hadn't been really sprinkled, and fire sprinkling is unknown for a lot of people. I had the media jumping on me during the time that fire was going on, saying you put kids' life at risk, Rich. I said, no, that isn't true, nor does research support that. Fire sprinkling the purpose is to save the structure or contents within the structure. That building caught on fire at 4 a.m. There was a band class in there until 6:30 or 7. they easily got out of that building, and that's why you do fire drills. So fire sprinkling is something that, you know, is helpful for the insurance company, but not necessarily is any disadvantage for kids being unsafe.
Why did they say they wished it wasn't sprinkled?
Well, that darn sprinkling system in there, ma'am, ran for 6 hours. All the time they were trying to put the fire out next door, it ran. So when I went inside that, there was about 11 inches of water. That was a mess. It went everywhere, into the walls. It went in through the concrete. So when they went to renovate that, they said, we tore everything down to the slab, and it would have been a lot cheaper next door where they could start from scratch. It was about 110% of the original building to build to renovate that due to the water damage and smoke from the site, you know, next there. So each one of those are calculated independently. I'd like you to turn over to the very second to last page and look at this sheet here. This is your accumulation of all your buildings. And I've listed all the square footages, all your scores. So your scores average 87, which is a great score. 90 is good, 87 is fair. The low of yours is next door, you know, with your high school, but because of the age, there are things there that Ty knows about that needs to be worked on as well. And the cost to do all those renovations, 18 million. I know that, you know, is always a shocker to you. But on the same token, probably about half of that stuff, you know, I would advise if you were my board to say, probably not anything you want to consider doing. Fire sprinkling, you may not want air conditioning. If you don't have air conditioning, you may not want some things done that we spell out to do. And so if you look at the 18 million there, the thing I want to impress upon you people is that 18 million compared to your 115, which I showed you before, is what the value of your buildings only makes up 16% of your costs that are not good. That's extremely high. I mean, 16% is a low figure. The highness is that it's close to being, you know, even there. I've done districts that are 40 to 50%, meaning that the things they need upgraded comparing to building new buildings are a long ways apart. Your 16% means that you're very close to saying with your total cost there that you don't have a lot of upgrades. 18 sounds high, but 115 million to replace them is you know, different. So if you look up there and compare the two columns and say, okay, the primary school of 942 compared to 8.5 million to build it new, or you know, the elementary middle school 3.5 million, but to build that thing new you got 24 million. So they're very small pieces of that. And again, that shows your due diligence as board members and your business manager and your maintenance guy, Ty, that you've done a lot of things in those buildings to keep those things at either fair or above. So with that, I broke that down on the bottom of that sheet to show, okay, if you did that over 10 years, what would you put into each year? And Carly gave me a sheet that she's worked on to show with Ty the amount of money you're putting aside for facilities. Mine's higher than what Ty's working with because of the things he's doing that, you know, I don't think you need to do. But on the same token, you've got a pretty good map now, I think, for Carly and Ty to look at and say, okay, judging what Rich is giving me versus the sheet that you are planning on doing, how do they pair up? How do they overlap? Are there things that I saw that maybe you need to reconsider, or things that I didn't judge as any deduct on that you know deep down needs to be? And that, you know, that's a local decision that you have. I know doors, by looking at doors, need to be replaced, but Ty can tell me that if we walked around and sampled every door, there may be more doors than what I saw needed to be replaced, or those sort of things. So I look at the funding on 2 years. If you did, that new state funding says, okay, what will the cost be every year for 5 years? You can easily determine that, because I have it right there. If you use my figures, about 3.7 million a year to do everything you want to do. Again, I don't recommend you do that. But that pretty much puts the summary there, and again, with the exception of those 3 enrollment projections, which, thank you for pointing that out to me, I apologize. I tried to get everything to Carly and Ty to review that. I didn't get to them to review, so I take fault in that. But I'll upgrade that up and get that so that they can pass that out to you guys. You'll have a current one that's accurate, and we'll get all of them pushed up. Anything, Ty, anything you or Carly want me to go over that I missed?
Not really, it's gonna take a little time to go through it.
Yeah, it's hugely helpful. The maintenance team and I have been meeting a lot, obviously, with these new funds coming in from the state. We knew this is part of the steps to get those funds. But as Rich mentioned, a lot of times, like, there's going to be some of these items that maybe the board or the district as a whole decides that it's not as important to do, while maybe additions to things are more important for us. Like Amanda with special education has been mentioning ADA accessibility over at the high school. We have an 8th grader this coming year that we're going to have to start thinking about. So there's a lot on our list. Again, after Rich's presentation today, I think, and when the new superintendent comes in, we'll meet again and we'll come up with a better game plan, and then we'll bring it back to the board and have a better description of what our goals or hopes are for the House Bill 521 funds. So I think this was just a good leeway in. I kind of wanted this to soak in, and then again, once the new superintendent comes in, kind of reevaluate it all again and bring it back to you guys.
I was just gonna say, I think it's a great, piece of work in here. I would like to see some prioritization of, what needs to be done, near term and,
Exactly, and that's like where we're at right now. We have quite the list, and
Yeah.
now it's like we got to find our priorities. We kind of did that with the roof situation. Like, we knew as a whole, GEMS was our priority, and so you're spot on, John. It's just figuring out the list and then going
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah.
What Rich did is just kind of a template for
Yep.
us to put our 10-year plan together.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean,
Yeah.
once I finally understood it.
Yeah.
Do you guys, Ty and Carly, do you guys have like another district you're talking to that's already done that? Like the triage sort of prioritization?
No, we've just been working as a team.
No, and I think, it's no different than what I did in Middleton. I had this done every year. I didn't do it myself. I wanted an outsider to come in because I think that gives you guys an opportunity to say, somebody had a different set of eyes besides Ty looking at things, even though Ty and I were right on base most everywhere there. But in Middleton, I did a prioritization based upon, one, is there any fallout that if we don't do it, it's gonna cost us more money down the road. Roofs are one of the worst things if you let them go. I felt for districts that has roofing problems, because then you have insulation problems, you have tile problems, you have structural problems, when it does. So that was always a high priority for me, is if we had any sort of roofing problems. And then mechanical units, like what, Ty's guy is keeping them up, those cost problems too. If you're not having, heating and cooling for kids, their scores are gonna go down. And research after research says that scores will go up when the facilities are properly maintained. The lighting, we get 34-foot candles, for instance. And you guys have done a nice job of LEDs. When I went through with Ty, I said, you put a lot of money in, or got grants or something with LEDs. That's the best lighting you can. And if there isn't LEDs, then I judge them back, because they say we need the lumens with LEDs to do it. So that prioritization is easier done because of the long-term effect of not doing something versus doing it just for doing it.
I'm just glad you came here this year instead of 2 years ago, because our high school roof
Yeah.
at Rangeville was not
Yeah.
as pretty before.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Again, thank you very much for letting me do this.
Thank you.
I told Carly and Ty I'm available for helping do the other piece if I can, and I'll get that other enrollment thing updated and back to you. And if you have any other questions you come up on something, shoot them to Carly, and she has my cell phone and email. I'll
Okay.
respond quickly.
Very good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much,
Yes.
Rich. Thank
Good
you.
information. Wow.
So, do we have a motion to accept this evaluation, or was it called?
Well, with,
10-year facilities plan.
with the caveat of the,
Editing that page.
editing or updating the
Enrollment.
I would,
Yeah.
yeah, I would make that motion.
What are you doing?
At least once a meeting, I gotta do that to you. All right, I would move that we accept Mr. Boucher's building evaluation, which is a 10-year facility plan, 2024 to 2034, I would note.
I'd second that.
A second? Any other discussion beyond that?
I was just wondering, like, what is the actual approximate life of a building? I know it's really hard, but I'm just like saying on an average. Is there a number for a school building, like built in 1964? Like, have you seen, I mean, I guess it's hard to
Depends so
imagine.
much on how it's built.
I know.
How it's
I
built,
I
what
didn't
it's
know
built
if you
of.
had any. Do you guys have an
No.
estimate of what you, because you also project enrollment, you project all the stuff we don't know, but is there a number? You do 30 square feet per kid. Do you have like a approximate average
As far as
life?
the upgrades go, or?
I guess I mean, I
She
don't
means
know,
the
like,
life of the building.
Life
Oh,
expectancy.
okay. No, that's
Yeah.
all over the map.
Yeah,
I wish I
okay.
did. Portables, for
So-
instance, you know, they have a 10-year lifespan, but it depends on the age of the kids that are in the portable. So in elementary, you can get 15 years out of them. Middle school kids, you get 10. And, but no, they say a building, you know, that's well built, could easily last you 50 to 75 years. But again, it's just like what you're doing, the value of that building increases as you maintain it. And even though there are buildings that are newer, the cost involved with that is low to maintain it.
Yeah.
But, depending on how it's built, but that's a
Okay.
great question.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you had an estimate, like a random number.
Our youngest building's 23 years old.
So
Just
we're
give
But
gonna
a
vote on
child.
this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on. Rescue gym.
Thank you very much. I don't want
Thank
to be
you.
rude,
Okay.
but
No.
Yeah, no, that's
Thank
good,
you.
thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Be safe.
Do we have anyone that wants to comment on the
The,
wrestling gym?
I guess I would jump in here. And I will turn it over to Jared, because Jared's kind of working with Eric. And in your packet, you have the proposal, you have the plans, you have everything else, and it deals with the Zoom alt funds that were donated, so.
Yep, so what I'm putting out to the board is I'm proposing that we would like to move forward with putting it out to bid to build the wrestling facility. We're looking at a 50 by 75 steel structure. Like we were talking earlier, the Kevin Zumalt estate made a very generous donation to the Grangeville High School and junior high wrestling programs. Carly and I met with Eric Roby, which is the executor of the estate. Actually, he's the one that kind of started the thought process of building a wrestling facility and you know, naming it the Zumalt Wrestling Gym. I've got kind of a budget put together for a 50 by 75 building, complete, finished, electrical, heating, and air, or the quote has air in it, we wouldn't put air conditioning. It's a wonderful HVAC guy that got spoke very highly of a minute ago. Would rather not have an additional unit to take care of. So we would go with just a heating system, no plumbing in it, just because where it's placed, it's a very, very long distance for us to get to city utilities. We don't have plumbing in the current auxiliary gym. A few years ago, a bunch of you board members were here. We had some patrons that came forward about fundraising for a baseball hitting facility. I spoke with all of them. They've hit a heck of a wall with funding. So what this would do is we would actually be able to turn over the auxiliary gym to open it up where we could have a hitting facility plus extra room for cheer and then maintain the wrestling facility as well. Any questions so far?
How much?
So what we're projecting right now off of the bases that we've gotten is we're looking at anywhere from like 380 to 400,000 for the facility.
And how much did you get out of this estate?
I don't have that answer. That'd be a Carly question.
For this particular portion, just over 500.
Perfect.
So this top end 400 estimate is well within what we have, so no district funds.
And this is just for the board's decision to approve the project. And then we'll go out,
Formally,
gather
yeah.
the numbers, formally get information, that'll be
We'll
presented
put
back.
together an RFQ and actually like put it out.
Yeah,
So,
good.
I mean, the dollar amount Public Works, we have to list it, put it out to bid, and then
So is this gym gonna be strictly for junior high and high school, or are you gonna use this for your littles as well?
So Eric's was very specific that the estate said it was for wrestling. So he was open to youth wrestling, junior high wrestling, and high school wrestling.
You may want a bathroom.
No, we haven't had one.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We've been functioning since the auxiliary gym was built without a bathroom.
They have buckets.
They just run really fast.
Yes.
It gives the coach a few minutes of a break. Yeah. Yes.
Whereabouts is this gonna be?
So I
Is there-
do believe in the back there was.
Yeah, it's at the back.
It's on the back.
It's at the
So
back.
it would sit right directly behind our library,
Okay,
still on campus.
okay.
There you go.
It's right here.
So worst case, all right.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, worst case is they run it down the hallway.
Right.
It's
Yeah, worst case
It's not
scenario.
the back, it's like in
Good,
front of the
good
handbooks.
point.
Yep.
Yes, this is an incredible donation from Kevin Zumwalt, as Jared mentioned. It's also just a portion of it. Will be coming to you guys with some more ideas. Kevin obviously thought a lot of his alma mater, and it shows. It's very kind, and we'll
Yeah.
have a plaque for him on the building as well.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So do we have a motion to, a motion to approve the Zumwalt Wrestling Gym project?
I move that we approve the Zumwalt Wrestling project and put it out to bid?
Not yet.
Okay. I move that we approve the wrestling gym project.
Second,
Second.
further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Cross country.
Real quick, I'll interject if you want me to. I mean, this was on the board, so this came to you. From my side, it must have been something that maybe was talked about in the past. I don't know how it reached this point.
It was actually supposed to be on the June board meeting and I
Yeah.
missed it.
We missed
Sorry,
it
what was
too.
it? No.
Yes. So it was a year ago you guys talked about this.
And
So
we
you're
just
just-
did
it's a
like a
review.
1-year provisional.
So we're just determining whether we're gonna keep doing this, right?
Yeah.
Assess, change, keep going on. Same.
And I can give information because I was sitting in this chair during this time if you want it.
Sure.
Great.
Yeah, a little over a year ago, one of the patrons came, wanted to ensure the fact that we would try to continue to do cross-country at Grangeville High School. Prior to that, we were doing a co-op with Prairie High School. Prairie decided to not continue with that co-op, so then that threw it back to the district or to the school. History before that is at Grangeville High School, when I was a principal there, we had cross-country until soccer became popular. The board at that point in time did not want to add another activity, and so they dropped cross-country and added soccer. And so then it was just, cross-country was not a part of things until the co-op with Prairie. Knowing last year, or knowing, I guess it would have been 2 years at that point in time, that there probably wasn't any money in the coffers to add a program. It was explained, and this board was still a part of it, it was explained that, and I believe approved, that it would be a no-cost program, providing an opportunity to the kids, and yet there wouldn't be any, there wouldn't be any coaches' costs. Or the only cost to this program under that statement was like IHSA
Right.
fees or
That's right.
something that was associated with it, because we had to do that. But that was the only cost to that point, as far as I know.
That and the insurance, I believe.
Pardon
Some
me?
insurance writer.
Yeah, you had to do the insurance side of things. So at that point, it was the 1-year situation to review it and see whether or not the district wanted to continue with the same process. Somebody else is gonna have to speak as far as if there's anybody interested. I know Mr. Yagi's not here anymore, so I don't know if there's coaches available or interest, or I don't know if there's kids that are interested. I don't know any of that.
Do we know how many kids we have participating?
I don't know.
And Coach Yagi, he was the coach,
He was the one who was
and he's no
directing
longer
things.
with us.
Right.
So
So,
until someone steps up. to
There
do
is
this
a
at
new
no
coach.
cost. Oh, there is?
Brendan
There
and
is.
Erica Baldus have stepped up,
Oh, okay. At no charge.
no charge.
So
Okay.
who are they? Do they work?
Patrons here, they.
Brendan helped.
Brendan's the coach of everything. Football, basketball, baseball, whatever he owns 2B Cabinets and a couple other businesses.
How many kids took cross-country?
I think when I left, Mr. Yagi did a pretty good job of recruiting, and I think there was more than a handful. I would guess
like
that there was probably
23?
at,
I feel like there was quite a bit.
I
feel
would say
bad.
at least 10, because I think you had to have at least a minimum 5 to go to state for
Okay.
each boys or girls. So
Right.
that's an outside guess.
So do you need a motion to continue as is? Is that what you mean?
I just think.
Cross-country starts pretty soon, right?
Well, it could be no action taken, right?
Can we table
If
this?
you want to
As is.
continue, this is just an
Do we need
opportunity.
any
Can-
changes?
Can we
Well,
ta-
do
can
we
we
have to
table
take
this
action
for-
in order
Yeah.
for it to continue?
Yeah.
You can make a motion to continue as is.
Because we can always bring it up if there's a speed bump I make.
She had a question though.
I did. So like, we decided not to have it because we had boys and girls soccer up here, right?
Originally, that's been years. That's when I was the principal, yeah. They didn't want to add a program, and so there was enough community interest and patron interest and stuff that they said, we will shift the support to soccer, and they would cancel cross-country, because cross-country had limited numbers at that time. And so then they got rid of the cross-country side.
Interesting.
What's participation like now between soccer and, interest in cross-country?
So I just got back, there's 19 total kids
Really?
in cross-country, 11
Okay.
boys, 8 girls.
Across the district?
No, just Grangeville.
That's great.
I think there's only like 5 down in the valley.
Okay, well, that's
And they're still
24
doing
districts.
well
That's pretty
before
good. Better than I
And
thought.
they co-op.
Okay.
All right.
However, there are some rules about that if your district offers.
Well, the question I would have is, then why would we not continue it? I
Yeah.
think that's a
I don't
pretty
think
good
we
numbers
should,
for participation.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not gonna enable any kids from being successful.
Absolutely.
I move that we continue cross-country as is for the 24-25 school year.
I'll second that.
All in
They're all
favor?
paying their fees, right?
Well, further discussion, do we need to talk about that further?
Oh, no, they get to pay fees, because if they are, that's the rules.
We said if it was no cost,
But
they
if there's
wouldn't
no
pay
cost
or they wouldn't pay
associated,
fees.
But
and so we waive
they're
fees.
representing the
I
district.
thought
But the
paid-
fees-
No, they're paying
But
fees.
they're paying fees.
School, just your regular, your sports
I-
That's
fees,
what you
The
said.
pay to play or the
Yeah.
IHSAA?
They're
Pay
not
to
paying-
play?
No.
Because there's, pay to play is based upon, when pay to play first came out, in all these schools, it was to offset the cost of transportation, because transportation was getting high.
right?
And then it's turned into doing whatever it can on the pay to play to offset transportation, which we don't have anymore, so then it offsets the cost of coaches' salaries and things of
that's
that
it.
sort.
Because it doesn't even offset coaches' salaries.
And in this one, there's no cost to coaches' salaries, and so I waived that. Now, it doesn't mean you can't change it, but
Can you clarify, how much is each athlete paying?
$92
Okay,
per sport.
okay. And that's the IH whatever fee, right?
no,
No,
that's your
that's
pay to play from within the
Just your-
district.
Oh.
That's just what they pay to play each sport.
Is Clearwater Valley, who's coaching down there?
They co-op with CAMI because they didn't,
Who
we were
is
told
it?
they didn't have enough kids to have their own team.
Right. Is that a paid position?
Yes.
Clearwater Valley's cross-country?
No,
For
it's a
Cammy, I-
Cammy
Or
coach.
Cammy coach?
Yes, Cammy, I coach and
But,
everything.
yeah.
Cammy coaches it, okay.
I'm sure they get a paid CAMI's pay to play, which is about half the amount of Clearwater Valley's.
It's like
They should.
35 or $45,
Yeah.
I don't quite remember what it is.
I'm sure they pay for that. Most of them do. I don't- Like in my mind, if they're gonna be a team in a sport and represent your school, I don't think it's fair that they don't get to pay the sports fee that all the other kids have to pay to play a sport.
I'd be fine with that if the coach is paid through the district and it becomes a legitimate Grangeville sport.
Well, if they got 19 kids, they probably should have a paid coach.
But if they got a coach that will do it, gratis, why should we not allow that? Yeah.
Well, because, I feel like if the kids are paying that to the district, then the district needs to provide something for the program, because that coach is also then having to fundraise for everything.
That's,
Whereas the other coaches don't have to.
but they do. Every coach fundraises.
No, but like football, they get their helmets replaced, they get shoulder
That's
pads.
a liability thing.
But I'm saying like every sport. Like the basketball person gets a new med kit, every few years, safety wise, like they get new uniforms all paid for by the district. Like,
We do
No,
not pay
no.
uniforms.
okay, I'm like saying like
No.
equipment.
No, we fundraise
I
for
was the athletic
Yeah.
director at middle school. We paid for things.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
You do pay for things. Okay.
Sort of-
Jared,
we're
you were an
trying to-
athletic director last year,
What are we
2
doing
years
here?
ago.
I just think like if they're going to play a school sport and represent their school, they should probably pay the fee that all the other kids are paying to represent their school.
Is it the same across every sport?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and is it the
And if
same
we
in
got
every
19
district?
kids,
But I'm gonna
But
just
if you ever-
interject here.
yeah,
You go back to what Mrs. Edwards was saying. I feel, and I've got no power here, I feel that if you charge a player $95 or whatever it is, where's that money gonna go? Unless it goes back to offset transportation, which is still a support of mine, or offset the cost of a coach. And then that throws you into another worm mess to say, does the district want to have another program? Because then that opens up the door for somebody to come in and say, well, we got 8 kids, now I want to go bowling.
well, don't.
and-
So we have something that works right now.
Well, I'm
Trying to
just
change
curious,
that?
like, do you have to pay when you go enter into a race?
They fundraise for their own races,
Oh.
entry fee.
The only question I would have is, if somebody gets hurt, does the school
It's
have any
covered.
liability,
They have insurance.
injury?
There's liability on those students.
Now, does the insurance that we already have cover that?
Yeah, they
So
have
there's
their
no
own.
additional insurance cost.
Correct.
So,
Okay, fine.
yeah. So if there's no additional cost, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Call for the question.
We can't.
Yeah, I can't take a question, sorry.
No, that's a way of saying I think we're at a point of having a vote, which the motion is that we continue,
We've already had the motion,
Yeah, it's already seconded,
That's where
we
it's
just
at.
gotta
yeah,
vote.
so now,
ready to vote.
right?
Well, I'm not gonna say no that
All
the
in,
kids can't
all in
run.
favor of continuing the cross-country program?
Aye.
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 Moving on to Elk City facility upgrade. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, I asked that we place Mrs. Edwards' name on there just to help out a little bit. I got a phone call from, Ted, thank you, Ted Lindsley. And he said he was talking to Beeb, he said to call me, Mrs. Edwards. Said there was an issue with a fence at Elk City and a light pole, and so I got the 30,000 foot view on this. I was supposed to go down and I did, and he said that he was able to secure a cost estimate on fixing the fence, but Beeb, what are the specifics on
I
this?
don't really know.
I
I don't really know. Let me see. I thought he would have told you that.
And I have the specifics, but I didn't.
Okay.
I'll give you what I got. He went to the school at Elk City, noticed that around the tennis courts, I believe, Ty, that there's a chain link fence that's bent, and the chain link
yeah.
is not stretched and whatever. He said it kind of looks tacky. And so we talked about that a little bit, and
Okay.
said there was somebody he had coming to Elk City, and he talked to them and said that they would clean it up and fix it for $700 to $800.
Yeah.
Is that what you got?
Yeah. Stafford fence requires $70 an hour. Estimated time is 8 to 10 hours. Stafford fence does not guarantee 8 to 10 hours will be surpassed.
On the fence side of things, so this is just a discussion basis, unless of course the board wanted to, engage in a contract with the fencing company. It's my opinion that, and I talked to Ty and I talked to Jay, it's my opinion that if for $700 or $800,
I think we could.
we're already paying these guys money to do facilities. And if they could fix it themselves without replacing it, and I don't know if the pipes are bent all the way over, and if they aren't, then it's gonna take more work. But we're already paying our maintenance people to do things like this as opposed to contracting out. And I would say that if it was me, I would have them do it first.
Is that something that you guys can do?
Well, and we have, one of our bus drivers down in Kuski, Neil Stamford, he used to do chain link fence all the time. And I think we could probably talk to him and get him to go up there. He's got the tools and the knowledge to stretch chain link and fix it. I'm not familiar with the issues that Ted has seen. Ted, I guess I didn't spend a lot of time looking at the tennis courts, but next time I'm up there, I'll definitely check that out.
And I appreciate Mr. Lindsley went in, I guess he sprayed the tennis courts and stuff, so I wanna thank him for that. But I really do think that we have people on staff that can do it, we're paying them already. I know that's just gonna add a little to their workload, but you know what, that's job security.
I bet you'd get several folks that live right out there that would be fine with helping out to make it happen. You could go walk down the street, the VFW, and knock on the door there, and
And I didn't make a living at it, but I've hung a lot of chain link fence in my day.
yeah.
I'll show up.
I just really think $700 or $800 for a company to come in and do it, that's great,
Yeah.
but I think we have the resources to do it ourselves
Yeah.
unless we need to
Yeah,
completely
I
remove it.
got
and
people
start
out there that would be glad to help out.
Why don't we table this, and I'm gonna suggest we table this, and let's see what we can work up.
Do you want to table
Let's
or
let-
postpone?
Ty go take a look at it
Right.
and report back.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jared and I will be probably up there next week or so, looking at things anyway.
snap a couple of pictures for us, would you? Snap a couple of pictures for us, would you?
Yeah,
We'll figure out how to get
yeah,
these.
cause I'm not for sure what Ted saw that he's
Right.
fixed on it.
Right.
Give me a call when you're gonna be coming up,
Okay,
because I'm there.
Also, Mr. Lindsley talked about a
Call me
flagpole.
if
I
I can
think
do
the
it.
flagpole
You're
is
fine.
broke or bent or something.
it's the flagpole that was up closer to the building. The issue is in Elk City, you get a ton of snow and ice sliding off the roof. And it bent that pole, and so finally I cut that pole off and I moved it further away from the building and reset it.
Yeah.
It's probably about 10 foot tall. It's, a nicer flagpole would be great up there.
Yeah.
You have to-
Ted came up with a price on one, it was like $2,500 for a 30-foot pole, which would be really nice, but I want to say that I have a flagpole that I got from the rest area past Riggins when we did a bunch of remodeling there years ago. And it's a 28-foot flagpole. It's just a galvanized steel 3-section pole. It's got the bollard and everything on it. I'm happy to donate that to the district if that is sufficient, or if somebody feels we need a really shiny, nice pole.
And I would say that if they want like a stainless pole,
Yeah,
if they
that's
want that, I would say again, the VFW is very active up there. You got the Forest Service, you've
Or
got,
make a project out of refinishing that pole that you have, something, we can do that.
And
I can take you over there and show it to you.
Ted also said, I'm happy to donate to get a nice one. So
so I think if,
if you guys can maybe combine that, maybe John?
Well, let's figure it out, let's get some more eyes on it,
Yeah,
and see
let's figure it
exactly
out.
what we need to do, and I'll talk out there to some of the folks, and, we've got a bunch of geezer types out there that, need something to do.
Good, because there's also like a storage building to paint or
Mr.
something.
Chair, I make a motion to table this until,
Make sure you don't
Postpone it.
Larry, postpone, please.
oh, you want to say postpone? Okay, fine, postpone until next month.
It's part of the
Oh, yeah.
facilities.
What's that?
The Oak City
Oak City
painting
painting.
project, it just touched
That
base
is
since it's
not
facilities.
listed on the agenda,
It's facilities.
but it's not listed, the agenda is listed as fence and flagpole, doesn't say anything about.
We can
Can
have
we-
it next.
No, it's fine.
Can we do that under informational items?
There is nothing listed under informational items.
There never is.
that one,
We'll make note.
you can hold some.
Make note of it.
Need to put something in on that.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Second.
I'll
All in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Extracurricular wage scale.
So in the negotiated agreements, it was approved to take out the extracurricular wages part, and so obviously we still need a schedule. So this is what I came up with. I had no idea which way the cross-country conversation was gonna go, so I added it with just being cautious. So however you guys wanna approve that with just me marking it off or whatever you would prefer. Anyways, it's nothing special, it's just status quo.
With the deletion of the cross-country.
I would leave that.
Okay.
I mean, just
I think I looked at it already.
Do we need a motion on this?
Yes. Are these pretty comparable to our neighbors? Like, are they pretty, or
It
did you
is-
just use what we had
it is
before?
the same as
Okay.
last year.
It's the
Yeah.
same as
Just
last
kept
year.
it exactly the same.
I sure did.
So is it kind of like the athletic, it hasn't been updated in,
Well, you'll notice that the athletic director.
well, no,
part is
I'm
different.
talking about like the 20, like the percent.
Oh,
I mean the base wage, excuse
no,
me.
that did not get updated to what?
Like, when was the last time that was updated? Yeah.
year.
I mean, is it like the AD where it was 2019?
Yeah, it was
It was the same
when
one.
we were talking about a negotiation.
Well, it looks like it's updated, it's just gonna stay the same.
So with respect to the
2024.
cross-country item, we would just be deleting
Well,
that.
granted, it's not
It's
a
a
lot,
schedule,
but-
it's not anymore.
We could either cross it all off, or I could just put dashes there because, well, no, that says no available position. Yeah, probably should cross it.
Just needs to be done, yeah.
Yeah.
When I coach
So with
games,
that being said, I'd make a motion
we
that
started
we
head coach
accept
in
the extracurricular activities weight schedule
2014.
for 2024-25.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Approval of the 24-25 student handbooks.
Okay, I read through these and they're not done. Grangeville's isn't done. Like it has a bunch of like, what do you guys think? What do you, there was a bunch of like random, I didn't read CDs, but it just had a bunch of like, there was like some notes in there that said like, what do you guys think?
So it looked like
What's
a
our
working
mission
comp.
statement? Yeah, it was like,
So with that being said, I would just
didn't
put
see
this
that.
off till August. You're still gonna be fine.
okay,
It's not like you have to have it for a state purpose or anything right now.
Okay.
It's just a protection for the
Yeah.
district or board.
there
Let's-
was just a bunch of like question things that were like,
Let's-
Not answered.
Let's send it back to the administrative team.
and I only looked at gems because that's all I had time for, but
Again, it's not like you have a deadline you have to do, so I would say send it back and bring it back in August. That'll
Okay.
give, and I know, just in the communication, they were rushing and
maybe they
hustling
needed more time.
to get
They were
to the
rushing.
board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe
And the high
the,
schools will be in August, right?
Yep.
I appreciate the fact that
Oh,
we're
it's right here.
standardizing
Does
these.
anyone
That's
know if we have a
good.
mission statement,
right,
vision,
just
and
little
statement,
thing,
where
but
would
there
it
was,
be?
yeah, and there's more in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to postpone?
I move that we postpone approval of the student handbooks till the next meeting.
What would it,
Second.
Second.
CVs, okay.
All in favor?
Um,
Board value statement. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During our curriculum discussion, the subject of DEI came up, and somebody asked me, they said, well, what's the district's position on these types of things? And that's what's usually referred to as a values statement. In other words, what do we stand for? Pardon the corniness of this, but I was reminded of that Aaron Tippin song about if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. That's what a value statement for an organization is supposed to represent, is what we stand for. So that being said, does everybody have a copy? I know it was emailed out on Monday. I don't know if everybody got it printed. No. All right.
I read it.
I get to keep one copy for that.
Unless it's.
And I have, can somebody throw this up there for the audience to see, please, Mr. Chair? There's your. So that's all this is. I was all over, I spoke to Mr. Stevens about this, our IT guy. I couldn't find a value statement on our website. So it's interesting to me that which is fine, I don't have a problem with it, in the facilities plan that Mr. Bosher presented on the third or fourth page, it says that we have a vision statement. I'm not sure where this came from. In any event, that probably is enough said. Basically what this is in a nutshell, in just quick statements, what are our values? And I'll just read this in case somebody can't quite see that. So it says, values are principles of conduct and perspective that help one discern what is important in life and which, when coupled with what is good and desirable, helps us to lead productive, meaningful lives. Accordingly, and this will be my motion for the board to affirm that this statement is what we value by providing an education to our students, which focuses on teaching real-world skills and critical thinking, respects our nation's history and traditional American values, promotes principles of good moral character and civic virtue, and rejects unhealthy cultural and social trends which undermine these values. Somebody asked me a question because it's an old-fashioned term. What is civic virtue? Civic virtue is the concept of understanding your role as a citizen and basically the ethics of good conduct as a citizen. That's citizen or civic virtue. So with respect to this, Mr. Chair, I will be making a motion that the board adopt this drafted value statement for inclusion on our district's website. I've spoken to Mr. Stevens about a carousel, which is that process of a moving screen on our website that would come up. And so this is where that would appear, but it's something that the district doesn't have, and I think we need it. It will help us as we go forward with our next round of curriculum adoption, because I think external influences are going to continue to intrude, and we need to have some basis on which to say, does this work for us or not? This gives us that. Submit.
This would go right along with our vision statement. Is that right? So we have a vision statement. And
Yeah, I don't know where that vision statement came from.
You rewrote it.
No, this is the values statement. This is not a vision statement, it's a values statement. It says, what do we value in what we do here? What's our primary value? What are the things that are most important to us?
So you have a motion on the table right
I need
now.
a second.
Oh, do we have a second?
Yeah, you made a motion.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll second it.
Now,
Yeah.
discuss.
Larry, I got a question.
Yeah, sure.
There you go.
What would you determine to be rejecting unhealthy cultural and social trends which undermine these values?
I think to move away from the DEI thing, let's talk about critical race theory. Critical race theory in and of itself is a process by which, and you can argue in favor or not of this, but I consider it to be un-American because it causes, in this case, it would be causing our children in our schools to think of things in terms of their racial orientation, that decisions are made based on race, that what happened in our history was primarily motivated by racial issues. That's what critical race theory promotes. I think that's un-American, and I think it's contrary to the idea of raising good citizens and educating them properly. So that would be an objection. That is something I consider to be unhealthy and corrosive to our culture.
Okay.
I'll give you another one.
How about teaching real-world skills? Like,
What-
are we teaching the real-world skills?
Real world skills, to my definition, are things like proper English, mathematics, and understanding of our history and our culture. The basics, the old 3 R's concept, those are real world skills. Those have been part of traditional American education since day one. What are those things that kids need to do when they walk out the door, kids need to have knowledge of when they walk out the door to be productive citizens? Those are real world skills. Knowledge is a skill because it's how you use it that makes the difference.
Right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with
Yeah,
you.
I understand.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think like some people parent their kids different than I do or you do, or, you know, some people want, I mean, like, let's just take for instance, Singapore might be something that everybody wants over here, but this guy over here is like negative.
And that's where I understand your Singapore reference.
So like a lot of
Yeah,
people
sure.
want Singapore math,
Oh, that, okay, okay.
but yet it might be really hard for this guy to teach it to somebody, or, you know, this kid can't learn it as well. I was just kind
Well,
of,
we're gonna have that.
I mean, like, is that,
Are we not gonna have
is
that kind of an
this,
issue
is
with
this what
every,
we, yeah, we
yeah,
are. Yeah.
everything?
Not saying that I disagree, I just think
Right.
like some people aren't gonna take the focuses on teaching real world skills and critical thinking to the way you're thinking.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why we have open discussion on those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think critical.
but
My comment would be that I think we want to make sure that we don't have what's happened in California, where parents are cut off from understanding what their kids are telling their teachers and trying to get done in the school systems there. And that's just, to me, it's just, whoa, that's way off the edge. And we need to make sure that we respect the parents and their relationships with their kids and not build some barrier in there.
I agree with you. I just don't think, I mean, that's not in here.
No, but that's,
I think
We might need to add
we
something
never
like
need to
that.
revamp it.
I really like the first three. Would you also want to add this values? Would you want to define values at the beginning?
I did.
Already have it.
No, I mean, would you want to keep that, or is that just something that you put as a side note for us?
I'd want to keep it
italicized.
because I think it's a concept that needs to be defined, as opposed to a vision. Those
Okay.
commonly get muddled. And for what it's worth, that definition of values that I use in there is a compilation of statements from businesses as well as academic institutions. So I combined the two because I thought it made sense in terms of what our responsibility is here, which is to help people learn to lead productive, meaningful lives. It's part of the objective of good education, is so people can do that.
I like developing something. I think maybe tabling this till the next one. Is that
So
okay?
there's
fine with
already a
me.
motion on the table.
Oh, sorry.
And it's already been seconded.
Yes,
Oh, what was it?
There is a motion
We adopt
Sorry.
it.
to
To
adopt
adopt
No,
it.
it's all right. No, we're good.
Oh, okay.
But you can let it die.
We can just,
And
No,
we
We
can,
have a second now.
You
we
already
can
have a
vote.
second, so
Uh-huh.
you need to do a roll call on it now. Yes.
well.
but he
I'll-
can
I'll
rewrite
read-
it if we
Yeah.
kill
We
it.
can
You
always
you
just
rewrite
edit
it.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All in favor of adopting this? Yay?
Okay.
How about nay?
Nay.
Okay, hang on.
Nay,
Hang on.
as is.
I'm gonna go, as is, I'm gonna say nay and we'll put it on next.
I think
I
it just
agree with
needs.
all of it.
I like
I
it.
agree with it, but I'm just saying,
I just want to
I
edit
want
it.
it to be-
Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
just
yeah, I
want
get
time. You did send it to us on Monday, which is great, but I had a lot going on this week, so I did not get a chance to do that.
yeah, I think it's,
Right.
I think it's great, but it just, I want these two on board too.
Okay, so I have a 3-2 motion failed.
Okay, now, do we have a notion to postpone it till next?
No, you don't.
No,
you
you
don't.
don't.
Put
He-
it
don't have
back
to.
on next.
We'll just put it back on.
So,
Oh, just put it back on.
hold on,
Okay, great.
hold on, you
Okay,
guys. So,
Just redo.
your motion failed 3-2.
Yeah.
How does that
That's true.
make it, how does that make it be able to go back on next month?
Because I'll make the
Wait a
request the
minute.
same way I did this one.
Okay, I'm just asking you guys, I mean,
What do we-
technically you failed
Watch
a
it,
motion.
no?
What do we need to do?
Well, what do we need to do?
You can't do anything right now. You need to get a hold of the chairman if you want it to go back on the agenda.
It's a do-over.
It's a rewrite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, just, I mean,
Next.
we'll put it on.
Technicality.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, you need to get a hold of Tyler.
guessing it's separate.
Okay. Moving on to the 24-25 school year superintendent contract.
I moved to offer the superintendent position to Mrs. Alyssa Holthouse for the amount of $130,000. The superintendent position will be a one-year contract ending June 30th, 2025. This position will be a 1.0 full-time FTE superintendent, including working 2 days on campus and 2 days off campus per week. All benefits excluding Percy, a cell phone stipend, and mileage or use of the district automobile from the district office.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You are not done. Well, you amended the agenda for your approval of emergency
Oh, that's right.
provisory.
Emergency provision.
Yeah, the very first thing. Put it right
So you amended the agenda at the very beginning.
Yeah. But
Right.
where is it at?
It's not on there because you amended the agenda.
Right.
Well, I know, but where's it at in the packet if we
It's
do?
not in
It's
the
not in the
packet
packet.
because you amended the agenda tonight.
The agenda.
There we go. So you need a motion, yes?
I do.
Mr. Chairman, I move to, hang on, he gave it to me. I move to approve the emergency provisional certification for Christie Oxford due to a lack of applicants.
Christie Oxford, Christie Orford.
It's Orford.
What did I say, Oxford? Orford, I'm sorry.
A second?
Who's that?
Discussion beyond that?
Talking for K.
All in favor of this?
Right?
So now we're staying for 15 minutes after, right, together?
Yeah.
100%
Okay.
disagree. Sure, you guys, yeah, you're
We're
done.
going by the,
We're adjourned.
it's the ones that are on the agenda.
Okay. You have 10 minutes to ask any questions or discussion.
We did a half an hour to begin with.
I have a question about your open. So, we said it has to be something that's on the agenda.
That's-
However, the agenda doesn't have time because it doesn't say fence and flag.
It says fence
It says fence and flag.
Specifically,
Yes, it does.
Oh, on ours.
On ours, it's the flag fence and the flag. One on mine is.
I can't call on you, I don't have those powers.
sorry there.
This is not the agenda that